welcome back. Casita Maria presents the solo exhibition Read to a Child, which is an exploration of home, identity, self love, and appreciation by Bronx based and Ghanaian born artist Tijay Mohammed as part of Casita Maria's Celebrate Yourself program, which features 9 large scale collaged works from the artist, the Ashe for Home series. And here to share more is Casita Maria's Interim Executive Director, Gail Heidel, and Read to a Child artist, Tijay Mohammed. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Rhina. Thanks for having us today.
Well, thank you for
Hello.
being here. Yes. We're excited. We're excited to talk about this next rendition of Celebrarte. If you would do the honors, Gail, in introducing the series to us. I believe this is an annual event that you put up, and I'm very curious to know how you choose your topics.
Well, we actually have 2 exhibitions per year in the Casita Maria Gallery as part of the Celebrarte series. And this year we decided that the theme for the year, both in the creative arts programs and the education programs, that we would focus on literacy, because we were finding, due to at-home learning caused by the pandemic, that literacy rates were falling, across New York as well as across the nation. So we wanted to select artwork this year that brought reading into the gallery. So we use the gallery as a teaching tool. We provide tours for all of the Casita Maria program participants, as well as anybody who wants to schedule a tour as well. And so in the fall this year, we had an artist, Daisy Ruiz, where you could come in and read directly and read her comic book. But with TJ's work, I thought it brought you to the next step where, once you have, vocabulary and you can, write sentences and write paragraphs, that you can then make the next step into poetry, which is how I view TJ's work, because he's creating his portraits by collaging in fragments of statements from magazines and newspapers and then painting over them. So the artwork is really beautiful. It reflects the community that we're serving at Casita Maria. And we're really hoping that a lot of people join us for our opening celebration on March 30th.
What a wonderful introduction to TJ's work. Welcome, TJ. We are looking forward to learning more about you and your trajectory, right? I understand that you do a lot of upcycling work. However, based on everything that I've read about you, it seems to me that your style of really designing and crafting and creating is really about building community first and foremost. So let's just talk about how you, I guess, chose what was going to be on display and what is being offered throughout the entire exhibition, because I know you have some in-person events happening as well.
Yes, so thank you for having me, and I'm very delighted to do this. This is my 10th year in the Bronx when I moved from Ghana. So in 2018, when my daughter was born, 2019, she went to Ghana due to COVID. She couldn't come back, and we decided to just leave her there. So this process of working, for me, it's a documentation of moments of time, nostalgia of space, as well as documenting whatever is going on around. So it's very perfect. I started doing the project during COVID, during the experimentation. And then, nobody was outside. So I'm doing a project with MetroCard. At the same time, I'm also collecting scraps of magazines that, sometimes overproduction, overconsumption. So it became fun for me to document this moment. And gradually, I started thinking about my daughter and how about we reading, because I used to read the Quran to her. And I also read many books that was given to me by Bronx, the hospital, which was more Bronx, Lebanon. So, through that process, I just keep experimenting and thinking about kids around me and how to impact the youth, the generation. When they stand behind the work, they would begin to read instead of just watching.
Right. I love how Gail introduced you. I mean, she referred to you and your work as poetry, right? And
Yeah.
it's great because she's absolutely right. Not only with the elements that you're using to kind of repurpose, but the intentions behind the actual artistry and what I observed, it's really the dynamics of relationships, right? So it's the relationships of humans as well as pieces, as well as whatever it is that I guess you find and put your hands on, right, to create art from. And so, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I start with a very personal story, and my entire process of installations and two-dimensional pieces is all about community, developing community. So I start with a conversation of a personal story of either myself and my nieces or daughter or family, friends around me, and then I grow the conversation from there to the public. So I begin to document kids that I see playing musical instrument, kids that are doing exciting things. Because at a moment in our life, we also have to feel as kids, although we are adults, because that moment is what we also try to capture for these kids to enjoy when they grow. So it begins as a conversation of a personal story, and then I take it to the audience. And in some cases, I do story circles where we begin to talk about, events happening around. And you might not know, you might find a statement that you did in a newspaper or in a magazine when you come close to these pieces to continue on the conversation that is ongoing always.
And so, Gail, this is actually going to be on display until August, right? And so, from what I gathered in his work, there's a lot of interactive participation. Are there any events scheduled in which people can come and actually have a better understanding of what his process is?
Yes, we're welcoming everybody from, all over New York City, tri-state area to come visit us on March 30th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. We'll be having an opening reception. You can come meet Tijay. You can share a meal with us, have a beverage, listen to the music of DJ De La Ceiba, and just be in community. So that's, the first opportunity that folks will have to be able to see the exhibition. And then if you want to make an appointment, you can email marketing@casitamaria.org to schedule a visit. Or, of course, as I mentioned before, you can schedule a tour as well for up to 20 people at a time.
It's 20 people at a time. So, like, if a school were interested, that's where they would go to schedule the visit during the gallery hours, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. So we can welcome people Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then, of course, if there's something special you want to, schedule, we can discuss that as well.
Got it. And so, with regards to the image, this is one particular image that really stood out for me, which was a father reading to his daughter. And I noticed that on the cover, it is a book titled that also highlights Africa. And I wondered, there it is. What is it? Mutaro, beautiful daughter. Right, and I know that somewhere in there, there's something really small that highlights Africa, and I'm mentioning this because I know that it's very important for you, Tijay, to bridge the communities, right? And I know that you have a studio in Ghana as well, right? And so I just wondered, like, once again, in your process. Obviously, there's, as Gail mentioned, you're very poetic, but there's a lot of political undertone in your work, right? So what are you hoping, what the conversations that will be sparked from experiencing your work while it's on display?
Yeah, so there is a component which addresses the complexities of the African and the African American experiences that I personally have lived and other people that have also lived or are living. So the conversation starts from there, and I know there are other speaking engagement during the during the exhibition, but in capturing all these moments, I expect everyone who is standing behind this piece to begin to think about the spaces they see, because there is a lot of maps in there. And I'm sort of intersection. There is a layer of Ghanaian and African identity in the piece, as well as capturing the American moment that I've been living and as my daughter has been living. She's currently in Ghana, and I just spoke with her in school before this interview, and just to tell her about what is going on, although she don't get the whole concept. She's 4, but the process is what I am enjoying, and this is what I intend to carry on. The book Mufaro's Beautiful Daughters, it's also quote unquote addressed as the African Cinderella in a lot of readings when people begin to interpret the book. So I use this book, which is the first gift she received from another poet friend of mine who is an artist and writer, Janelle Naomi, who gave her that book with a lot of message behind it about my relationship the relationship between myself and Janelle. So she's hoping that when my daughter grows up, she's going to read this as a poem. So it's very like timely how Gail puts everything, because it all started as a poem. I go reading poem, writing poem. I do that every day on a daily basis. So it sort of transfers from my inner self onto the pieces. And some of the pieces are very personal, although I have to update that some of them are already started selling, so we would just have to update it. But they're very personal to the extent that you feel it's like you're giving away your daughter. And I see it as I'm giving away my daughter as marriage whenever these pieces begin to leave. So the conversation continues as a family.
I gotta say, I'm touched just by listening to you because it's so beautiful and it's so intentional, right? And the reason I brought that particular one up is because it's a male figure, right? It's the dynamic between a father and a daughter, and it's something that I think people really need to take in deeper. So thank you for gifting us with that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Welcome.
So Gail, obviously you know what you're doing when it comes to stimulating people's thought processes, right? And so with this particular exhibition, I mean, aside from the opening, and obviously it's going to be available for people to experience up until August, and the literacy issue that we're having, right, with regards to, I guess, people not really picking up books. And so in this edutainment style that you've curated, what do you really think it will stimulate? What do you really feel like? Obviously, it sounds to me like this particular exhibition is geared towards the next generation, but it takes the adults to bring the next generation to experience it. So what are you hoping to get out of that?
I'm really hoping to, build a love of reading. We're going to be having like a little reading area in the gallery as well. So I'm hoping folks will come in and, take a moment out to be able to select one of the 30 books that we purchased for this show that Tijay helped curate, and have a moment to read to your child. We'll also be, providing training for all of our group leaders and staff at Casita so that they can in turn provide tours for all of the program participants. We serve about 1,000 people, or 1,000 young people, K through 12, that are going to be able to experience this show. And then TJ, touched on it earlier that he's also going to be coming in and leading an assembly for all of the young people at Casita to be able to learn firsthand from him as well about how he creates the artwork, what the artwork means to him, and how he's, looking to help the next generation. So I'm really hoping, in conclusion, that this builds a love of reading, and also kind of the grasp of language, that it's not just didactic. It's not just you're reading something and you're getting the information, but it's like, how can you use language, as I mentioned, poetically, to be able to express yourself. And I love this intersection between visual art and the written word. So I'm hoping it'll be inspiring. And I guess I already said in conclusion, but I will say in conclusion again. I just always hope, everything that we do at Casita is celebratory. We want the young people to come in, see themselves reflected in the artwork, and then we're hoping that it's going to help build their self-esteem and then lead them to a life of success.
Read to a Child is the exhibition, and it's set to take place with a free opening celebration on Thursday, March 30th, and will run through August 18th at Casita Maria Center for Arts and Education, located at 928 Simpson Street, 6th floor in the Bronx. And for more information, you can visit casitamariacenter.com.